The unseen path. Lost in the woods with no idea how to find her way out, Sarah was sure she wouldn't make it. But then, in the midst of panic, a soft voice in the distance called her name, and something guided her back to safety. A darkened road. It was a cold November evening when Clara, a young woman in her mid-20s, set out from her cousin's house in rural Kentucky. The mountain roads were notoriously difficult to navigate, especially during storms, but Clara didn't mind. She had driven these roads many times before. However, that night, as the rain pelted down in torrents and the wind howled through the trees, she felt an uneasy sensation creeping up her spine. The familiar roads seemed darker, and the road signs less helpful as she ventured further into the wilderness. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the road ahead, and before she could react, her car slid to a halt, skidding slightly off the road. The storm had made the dirt path slick, and a tree branch had fallen across the road, blocking her path completely. She honked her horn, hoping someone might hear her in the distance, but the storm swallowed her calls. No cars passed by, and the darkness around her seemed to stretch endlessly. The decision to walk. Clara knew she couldn't sit in the car waiting for help to arrive. The storm wasn't letting up, and her phone had no signal out here. The roads were isolated, and she knew the only way out was to find someone who might be able to help. She grabbed her flashlight, turned off the engine, and decided to venture on foot down the road in search of a farmhouse or perhaps another traveler who could lend a hand. With every step, the rain seemed to intensify, and the darkness enveloped her even more. Her flashlight beam barely cut through the rain as she trudged on, her boots sinking slightly in the mud. The wind howled, and the sound of the trees creaking in the distance made her feel even more alone. Clara considered turning back, but there was something about the night that felt strange, as if she were being drawn to something. She couldn't explain it, but she felt an inexplicable compulsion to keep going. A hidden path. As she walked for what felt like hours, her flashlight flickered, and Clara stumbled upon a narrow, overgrown path she had never seen before. It wasn't on any of the maps she knew, and the trail seemed barely used. She hesitated for a moment, the hairs on the back of her neck rising. It was a dangerous idea, walking down an unfamiliar trail in the midst of such a storm. But something about it felt different, almost comforting. She pushed the thought aside, thinking that any way forward was better than staying where she was. The path curved around a thick cluster of trees and wound its way down a slight incline. Despite the rain, Clara noticed that the air felt warmer as she walked, almost as if the storm was kept at bay by some unseen force. The trail was lined with moss-covered stones that seemed oddly familiar, and Clara felt an inexplicable sense of peace wash over her. The way ahead looked like it had been cleared, as if someone had made sure the path was navigable. The flashlight illuminated the trail, revealing more of the path ahead, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't a random turn of fate. It felt as though she was meant to find this way. The cabin in the storm. After what seemed like an eternity of walking, Clara rounded a bend in the path, and there, nestled against the base of a small hill, was a cabin. It was old but sturdy, with a faint light shining from its windows. The sight of it, standing against the dark stormy night, felt like a sign. Clara's heart skipped a beat. It had appeared so suddenly, and the sense of relief was overwhelming. She made her way to the cabin's door and knocked hesitantly. A soft voice from inside called out, "Come in, dear. You're safe now." Clara stepped inside, drenched but grateful. The warmth of the cabin hit her like a wave, and the smell of fresh baked bread and something earthy filled the air. The room was modest but inviting, with a small fire crackling in the hearth. An elderly woman, bent with age but still radiating a quiet strength, stood in front of her. Without a word, the woman handed her a towel and a hot cup of tea. Clara didn't ask questions, not yet. She was too overwhelmed by the warmth and comfort surrounding her. The woman sat down across from Clara and smiled softly. "The storm's always worse than it seems, isn't it? But you'll be safe here. Rest, and you'll be on your way when the storm clears." Clara thanked her and collapsed into the armchair by the fire, letting the warmth seep into her bones. It felt like a dream, too surreal to be true, But Clara's exhaustion and the calm presence of the woman soothed her. She had no idea how long she slept, but when she woke, the storm outside had quieted, and the sun was beginning to break through the clouds. A morning like no other. When Clara stepped outside, the world seemed brighter, more peaceful. The cabin was gone. The trail she had walked on earlier was also gone, as if it had never existed. Instead, she found herself standing at the edge of the road she had been traveling on earlier. Her car was parked nearby, the tree that had blocked her path earlier had disappeared, and the road was clear. Clara couldn't comprehend what had just happened, but she knew one thing for certain: the cabin, the woman, the path, it all had felt like something more than mere chance. She made her way back to her car, grateful and confused, her mind racing. Was it just a dream? Had the woman been real? Clara never spoke of it to anyone, unsure of how to explain the experience. But she knew that whatever had happened that night had saved her from something far worse. Years later, when she shared her story with locals, an old man smiled knowingly. "You weren't the first to find that path," he said. "But you were the first to come back to tell it." Clara had no answers, but she knew one thing for sure: the night the storm had threatened to swallow her whole, she had been guided by an unseen force. Whether it was divine intervention or something else entirely, Clara would never forget the strange, unmarked path that led her to safety.